So this video is on the integrated 2. It's the chapter 4 MA homework number 3, finding exact values worksheet number 1. So what we are going to be doing for this is we are going to be trying to sketch each of these out, where they are on the unit circle, find the coordinates, and then answer these questions, figure out and evaluate each of these 6 trig functions. So first thing, just to make sure we all are understanding, when we are doing this, okay, this is a unit circle. And so as I go around the unit circle, this point right here is 1, 0. Up here, this is 0, 1. Over here, this is -1, 0. And we don't have to label this on every single one of them. I just want all to understand where things are, and then we're going to go from here. 0, -1, and then we get back to 1, 0. Now, if I am using, if I'm looking at this point and this point and this point and this point, these are my 30 degrees. And for these 30 degrees, the coordinates of this are going to be, as I'm moving, I'm going long, short. That's how I'm moving. So when I say long, I am talking about √3 halves. When I say short, I'm talking about 1/2. And each of these other values are going to be the exact same, but what's going to change is just the signs. So let's see if I can just get this little section. So if I was to copy and paste this, this is going to be the same over here. It's going to be the same over here. It's going to be the same over here, except for the signs are going to change. So over here in quadrant 2, it's going to be a -√3 halves and still a +1/2 because I have my y's are positive in that quadrant. In quadrant 3, it's going to be a -x and a -y. And in quadrant 4, it's going to be a +x and a -y. If I am looking at my pi force, my pi force are the 45 degrees. And this is going to be where I am going to take the square root of 2 over 2, comma, the square root of 2 over 2, or my x and my y coordinate are the same, because this is an isosceles right triangle. So again, if I take, see if I can just grab this. No, it's not letting me. If I can just copy and paste that over here, that's going to be the same. Down here, that's going to be the same. Down here, this is going to be the same. But what's going to change is the signs. So again, when I'm in quadrant 2 and my x's are negative, my y's are positive. When I'm in quadrant 3, both the x and the y are negative. When I'm in quadrant 4, my x is going to be positive and my y is going to be negative. And then the last one, when I am dealing with my 60 degrees here, these are the ones where I am going short, long, as opposed to this one over here, which is long, short. So I'm going long, short for my √3 halves, 1/2. I'm going short, long for this point. So since I'm going short, long, this is going to be 1/2, √3 halves. And all of the points around the unit circle that are in that same teal are all going to be the same. Let me just get this one more time. Grab the right thing. There we go, and one more. So again, in quadrant 2, my x is going to be negative, my y is going to remain positive. In quadrant 3, my x and my y are both going to be negative. And in quadrant 4, my x is positive, my y is negative, because this is really on the xy axes. I have this center at 0, 0, and my radius is 1. So that's what the unit circle looks like, okay? Now, I don't need all of this for every single one of these. I need a particular point, So for number 1, they want us to sketch pi 6. So pi 6, if I was just to circle it, I'm going to highlight it. How about I do that? Pi 6 is going to be this point right there. That point is pi 6. And that point is root 3 halves, comma 1 half. So when they are asking me for the sign of pi halves, the sign is going to be my y coordinate. And my y coordinate is 1 half. So the sign of pi 6 is 1 half. My cosine is going to be the x coordinate, and the x coordinate at that point is root 3 halves. Now, tangent is y over x. So y over x. My y is 1 half. My x is root 3 halves. Now, remember, I don't like it written like this. So I am going to change this to 1 half times the reciprocal 2 over root 3. And so when I do that, I end up getting a 2, sorry, let me clean that up. My 2 and 2 are going to cancel out. And I end up getting a 1 over root 3. I rationalize, I times top and bottom by root 3. And when I do that, what my final result is going to be, I'm just going to move this right. Let me move that. Okay, so when I'm doing this, again, I was dividing by my root 3 halves, which is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. So when I get that, I'm going to end up having on top 1 over root 3. I rationalize, I multiply top and bottom by root 3. And when I do, I get root 3 over 3 as my answer. So that is going to be my tangent. So my tangent is going to be root 3 over 3. Now, my cosecant, secant, and cotangent are reciprocals. And each of these has the reciprocal of sine is the cosecant. Remember, C doesn't go with C and S doesn't go with S. Cosine's reciprocal is secant. Tangent's reciprocal is cotangent. So what I'm going to do is I'm literally going to flip the answers that I have for my sine, for my cosine, for my tangent. So this is going to be 2 over 1 or just 2. This is going to be 2 over root 3. I'm going to rationalize by multiplying the top by root 3 and the bottom by root 3. And I end up getting 2 root 3 over 3. And my cotangent, I'm going to have 3 over root 3. And again, I need to rationalize top and bottom. And so when I rationalize this, I'm going to get 3 root 3 over 3, which is root 3. And that will be my answer. So let me just kind of highlight my answers. So this is a 1 half. This is a root 3 over 2. This is a root 3 over 3. This is a 2. This is a 2 root 3 over 3. And this is a root 3. So on number 2. Okay, let me first just figure out what 2 pi thirds are. So just a little reminder, this is 6, this is fourths, this is thirds. So this right here is a pi sixth. This right here is a pi fourths. This right here is a pi thirds. So when I'm dealing with thirds, all of my thirds are going to be those dots here. Okay, all those teal ones. Now I want 2 pi thirds, and 2 pi thirds is going to be this one right here. That's where I am. And the coordinates of this, I'm going short, comma, long. Short, comma, long. So since I'm going short, comma, long, the coordinates are going to be, and I'm in the quadrant 2. So my x is going to be negative. So -1/2, that's my short. And my long is √3 halves. That's the coordinates of that point. Okay. So now I need to answer these questions. So I want the sign of that, which is going to be my y, which is √3/2. I want the cosine of that, which is my x, which is going to be a -1/2. I want the tangent of that, and the tangent is going to be my y, which is √3 halves, over my x, which is a -1/2. And so again, when I take √3 halves times the reciprocal, I'm going to end up getting a -√3. And that is going to be my answer. So tangent of 2 pi thirds is a -√3. Okay. Now I'm going to zoom in here. And remember, all of these, sine reciprocal is cosecant, cosine reciprocal is secant, tangent reciprocal is cotangent. So if I flip √3/2, I get 2/√3. I'm going to rationalize this in my head. I'm going to multiply top by √3 and the bottom by √3, and that's what I'm going to get. For my secant, the reciprocal of cosine, which is a -1/2, is going to be a -2. For my tangent, I'm going to have the reciprocal of a -√3, which is a -1/√3. And again, I'm going to rationalize. I'm going to multiply the top by a -3 and the bottom by, by √3, I apologize, and the bottom by a √3. And those are my answers. 5 pi fourths. So I'm just going to highlight my fourths. So my fourths are going to be here, 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 here. And I want 5 pi fourths. And 5 pi fourths is going to end up being this one right here. That one is my 5 pi fourths. And the 5 pi fourths, that's the one, the fourths where your x and your y are the same coordinates. I'm in quadrant 3, so it's going to be a -√2 halves, comma, -√2 halves. That is going to be 5 pi fourths. So when I'm going to do my sine is going to be a -√2/2, which is, that's my y. My cosine is my x, which is also a -√2/2. My tangent is going to be, I'm going to write it up here. It's my y over x. So it's going to be a -√2/2 over a -√2/2. Now, don't try to change this to multiplying by the reciprocal and rationalizing. I have a -√2 halves over a -√2 halves. Same over same. That's just a 1. That is just a 1. And you might remember that tangent of 45 is 1. Okay. So, and pi fourths are 45s. So this is 1. Now, I'm going to do my reciprocals. So the reciprocal of sine is cosecant. Reciprocal of cosine is secant. The reciprocal of tangent is cotangent. So for my cosecant, I'm going to have a negative 2 over root 2. I'm going to rationalize. I'm going to multiply the top by a root 2. And I'm going to multiply the bottom by a root 2. Now what happens is I get a 2 on top and a 2 on bottom. So my final answer here is going to be a negative root 2. That is going to be my, that is going to be my cosecant. My secant is going to be the same thing. So I know it's going to be a negative root 2 because I'm going to rationalize and do the same thing I just did for my cosecant. Tangent, reciprocal of 1 is 1. Those are my answers. 4. Okay, my pi thirds. All of my pi thirds are, pi thirds, sorry. All my pi thirds are here, 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 here. Now this is asking for negative. So I'm going this direction. So what that means is I'm actually going to end up right here. That is going to be where I'm at, this point right here. And the coordinates of that point, I am going to go, from my origin, always from the origin, short comma long, short comma long. So short, positive 1/2, long, and I'm going down a negative root 3/2. Okay, that's going to be my coordinates. So my sine is my y, so it's going to be a negative root 3/2. My cosine is my x, which is going to be a 1/2. Now my tangent is y over x, so it's going to be a negative root 3/2 over a 1/2. Again, I'm going to change this to multiplying by the reciprocal. And so my 2's are going to cancel out, and I'm going to get a negative root 3. So this is going to be a negative root 3. Now I'm going to zoom in. Now I'm going to be doing the reciprocal of sine, which is cosecant, reciprocal of cosine, which is secant, and the reciprocal of tangent, which is cotangent. So the reciprocal of a negative root 3 over 2 is a negative 2 over root 3. Again, rationalizing, multiply top and bottom by root 3. So I'm going to get a negative 2 root 3 over 3. My secant is the reciprocal of cosine, so the reciprocal of 1/2 is 2. My cotangent, the reciprocal of my negative root 3 is a negative 1 over root 3. We dealt with this like I did also with the one for the cosecant in previous problems. I'm going to multiply top and bottom by root 3. So I get a negative root 3 over 3. Number 5. So I am going to end up with 6. All my 6 are here. Those are all 6. And now 11 pi 6 is, and if you think about this, pi is 6 pi 6. 6 pi 6 and 6 pi 6 makes 12 pi 6. So right here, this is where I am. That's my 11 pi 6. And again, if I'm thinking about long comma short or short comma long, this is long comma short. Okay, long root 3/2 comma short, and it's negative 1/2. So my sine is going to be my y coordinate, which is a negative 1/2. My cosine is going to be the x, which is a root 3/2. My tangent is going to be y over x. It's going to be a negative 1/2 over root 3/2. And again, I'm going to change that to multiplying by the reciprocal. My 2's are going to cancel out. So what I'm going to get, let me jot that down here. I'm going to get a negative 1 over root 3, but I don't like it that way. So I'm going to multiply the top by root 3 to rationalize it and the bottom by root 3. Okay, now I'm going to do all of my reciprocals. So for the reciprocal of sine, it's cosecant. So the reciprocal of a -1/2 is a -2. Reciprocal of cosine is secant. And the reciprocal of a √3/2 is a 2 over √3. And I'm going to rationalize it. And when I do, I get a 2√3/3. Now on my tangent, I'm not going to take this one and flip that, because if I do, my radical 3, which is on top, is now going to go on bottom. I'm going to do this one, the one it was before I cleaned up. So if I'm doing that and I flip that, that's going to be a -√3/1, or just a -√3. Number 6, pi halves. So my pi halves, these here and here are my pi halves. I'm just at plain old pi halves. So I'm actually going to be right there. And the coordinates of that point, 0, 1. So my sine, which is my y, is going to be 1. My cosine, which is my x, is going to be 0. My tangent is going to be y over x, which 1 over 0 is undefined. Then I'm going to do the reciprocals. So the reciprocal of sine is cosecant, and that's going to be 1. The reciprocal of cosine is secant. So reciprocal of 0 is 1 over 0, which is undefined. The reciprocal of 1 over 0, which is undefined, is 0 over 1, and that is 0. Make sure you clean those up. Okay, pi. Pi is right here, and that is going to be a -1, 0. So my sine is going to be 0, because that's my y. My cosine is going to be -1, which is my x. Tangent is going to be y over x, so 0 over -1, which is 0. Now, when I do my reciprocals, the reciprocal sign is cosecant, and 1 over 0 is undefined. The reciprocal of cosine is secant, and the reciprocal of -1 is -1. The reciprocal for tangent is cotangent, and the reciprocal of 0 is 1 over 0, which is undefined. So now the next thing that I'm going to be looking at is my sine of 5 pi thirds. Okay, this one, we're not having to find everything. They want us just to find the sine of 5 pi thirds. So this problem asked me to find all 6 for a particular angle. This one is asking me to find 1. So remember, all of my thirds are here. I want 5 pi thirds. So remember that when I'm dealing with thirds, this right here, pi, would be 3 pi thirds. And then this 2 pi would be 6 pi thirds. So when I'm dealing with 5 pi thirds, I'm right here. And the coordinates of that point, again, if I'm thinking, how am I moving? Short, long. Short, 1/2, long, -√3/2. I want sine. Sine is my y. So my answer is -√3/2. That is my answer. Number 9, force. So my force, all of these here are force. So if I'm dealing with force and I'm going around this unit circle, pi would be 4 pi force. So if I want 3 pi force, that's going to be this one right here. And the coordinates of that, remember, your force are your isosceles right triangle. That is going to be a -√2/2, comma, √2/2. And the cosine is your x. So that is a negative root 2 halves. Tangent of 7 pi 6. So 6 are all of those. And if I'm going around this unit circle for 6, pi is really 6 pi 6. So if I'm going one beyond that, I'm here. That's 7 pi 6. And for that, I'm going long, short. So the coordinates long, negative root 3 halves, short, negative 1 half. And we want our tangent of that. So tangent is going to be y over x. So remember, it's going to be y over x. And so I'm going to have a negative 1 half over a negative root 3 halves. So that's really going to be a negative 1 half times the reciprocal of a negative 2 over root 3. So I am going to get a, hold on, this looks like an equal, but that is a times and a negative. So that's going to be a positive 1 over root 3. And when I rationalize that and times top and bottom by root 3, this by root 3, this by root 3, I get root 3 over 3. And that is my answer. Um, 11, tangent of negative 4 pi thirds. So my thirds, these are my thirds. And I am doing negative, so I'm going this direction. So as I'm going this direction around the unit circle, pi, negative pi, this is going to be a negative, whoops, dealing with thirds, right? A negative 3 pi thirds. So if I'm going one more, I'm going to be here. And so that's going to be short, comma, long. Short, comma, long. So a negative 1 half, comma, root 3 halves. And tangent, let me again do the math. It is going to be a y over x. So that means I'm going to have a root 3 halves over negative 1 half, or I can think about it as timesing by the reciprocal. And so my answer is going to end up being a negative root 3 when I clean that up. 12, 5 pi 6. So my 6, 6 are here. And so as I'm going around the unit circle for 6, this right here would be 6 pi 6 or pi. I'm short, so I'm right here. And again, if I want the coordinates, think, is it long, short, or short, long? It's long, short. Long, negative root 3 halves, short, positive 1 half. And so when I'm doing this, I am thinking about the sign. Sign is y, so my answer is 1 half. So hopefully this helps reinforce some of the ideas we learned today. And hopefully you're trying this first so that you can make sure you understand how to do these without my help.